Hello, everybody. Welcome to BETT 2024 in London. I'll be your host for the session. My name is Janine De Villers. I am the Microsoft Alliance Manager for Lenovo. And joining me today is my co-host, Sarah Westcott.
Hello, I'm really pleased to be here at BETT for my first time, I should add. I'm Sarah Westcott and I'm an assistant head teacher at Queen Elizabeth School in London.
Thanks for hosting the session with me today, Sarah. Before we jump into our first few questions, why don't you give us or give our listeners a quick snapshot of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I work, as I've said, at Queen Elizabeth School in London. I've been there for 15 years, starting as a chemistry teacher. After I trained as a teacher, I was a scientist previous to that. And I've worked my way up the school and are now really excited to be involved in the digital strategy transformation that we've been involved in.
Okay, sounds amazing. So day 2 of BETT, how's your week been?
It's been good, yeah. So I'm just starting to get to grips with some of the different focus that's at the exhibition. There's so much to see.
Yeah,
it can get pretty overwhelming.
Yeah. Okay, so today we have an amazing episode. Today we'll be talking about how Queen Elizabeth schools implemented their one-to-one device strategy. So Sarah, tell us, what was your vision and your strategy for implementing this one-to-one devices strategy?
Yeah, so obviously one-to-one devices and in the sort of earlier part, bring your own devices has been on the educational landscape for sort of a number of years. And as a school, we've been very cautious in approaching technology for fear of sort of jumping in too soon, maybe not thinking carefully enough about how it gets integrated.
Yeah.
And so part of our vision was really thinking about how can we make the technology support our current strong teaching and learning pedagogy and actually enhance the classroom experience. We'd seen some, particularly early on in the sort of educational journey with one-to-one, where some schools had gone all in, every student had a device, and actually they perhaps weren't being used to their best advantage in the classroom. So our vision was very much how can we enhance teaching and learning, build on the excellent pedagogy that we already see with our teachers, but also look at ways that we can develop things like our pastoral curriculum as well, our extracurricular curriculum. So it was really a holistic approach to one-to-one.
Okay. And, you know, with every vision and strategy, there are challenges and there are barriers. So can you talk to us a bit more about what they were and how you overcame them?
Yeah, I think when you're starting with a school, we had a very good reputation. We didn't have any, if you like, teaching and learning issues that we were looking to address. So some of the concerns were, you know, if it's not broke, why fix it? You know, why go down this path? And I think one of the main challenges was how do we tie this together so that we have every aspect of the school on the same page? So the communication between, you know, the academic, the pastoral side, ensuring that staff knew what the focus of this strategy was. But also, you know, you've got your parents to get on board to sort of really engage with this. And the students, you know, we're aware that we always think that students are very digitally skilled, and actually they're often not.
Okay.
And so thinking about if we're going to use one-to-one devices, how do we ensure they're using them sensibly,
Yes.
with all the safeguarding implications that has, but also are maximising their use in terms of their education.
So that's, you know, my next question. So how did you ensure that these devices were being used in a safe, responsible manner?
Yeah, so part of our strategy right from the start was I worked closely with the Deputy Head for Pastoral and the Deputy Head for Teaching and Learning, and we very much worked together. So we looked at what did we want to achieve in the classroom, how were they being used, and then looking at, well, actually, how can we effectively monitor what the students are looking at? So using tools like Smooth Wall, Senso, and thinking about how we could sort of monitor the students' use in a safe way, but also in the pastoral side, teaching them how to do things like appropriate searches on the internet. How do they use AI sensibly?
And could you explain to our listeners just a little bit about what those tools are?
Yeah, sure. So Smoothwall is a sort of a firewall monitoring software that basically is like a gatekeeper for what they can access on the internet.
Okay.
It also has some functionality where if they start to type in something that could be concerning, so about self-harm, for example, or guns, violence, sex, those types of searches, it will actually flag up to our safeguarding lead so that we can quickly intervene. Senso is a classroom monitoring tool. So as a teacher at the front, as the students are using their devices, you can have all of their devices in front of you as an image, and you can see that they're looking at what they should be looking at. So it's a very light touch way of actually having a quick scan to make sure that they're not doing something they shouldn't be doing, for example, and they're essentially that they're engaged, that they've not become less engaged.
And what advice would you give to other schools or institutions that are looking to implement this one-to-one device approach?
I think it's important. I did a lot of consultation first of all, so I would say use your networks. That was a really important thing. So I actually did a lot of research initially and found TA Education, who I seen had worked with a number of schools. I saw that they'd worked with Lenovo, for example, and this seemed to fit with our ethos. We knew we wanted to become a Microsoft school because of the tools we currently use. But by working with someone like TA Education, that enabled us to get almost the lowdown on what could go wrong, making us aware of possible blind spots. But also through that, visiting lots of different contexts and thinking, actually, is their vision for one-to-one the same as ours? What have they done well? What could we see that maybe wouldn't fit our context? So it's very much learning from those case studies, I would say.
Okay. And you were talking about you wanted to become a Microsoft school. What are your favorite Microsoft tools and what are the features and why is it your favorite?
Yeah, so I think when we were rolling it out, we had to think very carefully that our staff had varying levels of experience. So some of them were very tech savvy. They used a lot of Microsoft tools already. So if I think about our head of technology, they were using a lot of these tools to help with their coursework. And then on the flip side, you had other teachers in other departments that hadn't had cause to use them. So one of the things that we used consistently right from the start across the school was OneNote, because we felt that was something that everybody could get to grips with. You can embed within OneNote different applications. You can start to use things like Forms, Flipgrid, Sway, but everybody would be using that one tool initially, and we could build upon that. I mean, OneNote's fantastic for on a very basic level, organising students' notes, but also allowing a teacher to look into their class, see what the students are writing. The teacher can say, oh, X has done particularly good work, let's share that, and everybody look at it together. There's a collaboration space where you can have project work with different groups of students, and it's essentially quite safely sandboxed in a way, so it's within that one programme. We would run that, we use Teams as well with our students, and we really like the channel functionality. So setting up sort of discussion channels for a particular topic, for example, encourages students that may not put their hand up to engage with the topic of discussion. And I think that, those are the two things I would say, they're the easiest to get started with, and they're the ones that have really given us the most benefit in a short space of time.
So that's your favorite Microsoft tool. What do you think the students' favorite Microsoft tool is?
Actually, my favorite Microsoft tool, which I'm coming to grips with, is a lot of the AI. That as a teacher, and I think the students need to be taught how to use it properly, but I think that will be a really big thing, and it's something as a school we've got to consider. I've loved using Copilot for helping me to develop resources. Some of my administrative tasks, it's been really, really useful for sort of things like drafting letters, for example. The image producer in Copilot, helping you to sort of develop engaging images, saving you hours searching for an appropriate image on maybe Google image search. So that AI, I think, I'm still learning how to use it, but it's a very powerful tool for, as a subject expert, I obviously need to review what it's giving me, but giving you that collation of ideas has been really powerful. And I think the students will love AI the most, I must admit.
Of course. So let's talk about your devices. How did you go about choosing the device? Was it the same for teachers, for learners? And why Lenovo?
Yeah, okay. So again, this fed into our vision at the start. When we were developing what we wanted the devices to be used for in the classroom, what our vision for that educational change would be, we very much involved a huge range of stakeholders. So as an SLT, we went to heads of subject, we went to pastoral leads, and we said to them, what do you want to be able to do with these devices? What are the key points of teaching that you want to enhance? So, for example, the tech department said, look, we want to be able to run elements of CAD. English, history, they liked the idea of being able to ink and sort of annotate essays. Yeah. And so we took all these things together essentially as a wish list, and then looked at tying it in with our financial model, because that's a big driver as well for state schools, thinking about the affordability. And so we decided to sort of ease the training requirements. The staff would have the same device as students. So you knew, what the student had in front of them and how they could use it. And we decided on a Lenovo Yoga sort of with a keyboard and a touch screen and a stylus. Yeah. And it's been amazing. I mean, as a teacher myself, I love using it. It's been transformational, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I use a yoga as well.
Yeah,
so
they're
absolutely love it. Yeah.
I was going to say, and the students, I mean, when you watch them in class as well, the ways they're using it in terms of the yoga capability, being able to sort of, flip it round, they're doing some sketching in art, or they're annotating something in geography, and they're finding ways to make it work for them. And it may not be identical, and that's part of the bonus of it, I suppose. Students work in different ways.
Okay. So I think, Sarah, my final question would be, can you describe how this digital transformation with Microsoft and Lenovo, what has it helped you achieve?
I think it's really underpinned the whole teaching and learning ethos that the school already had. Okay, we were always looking for pushing our students to learn, stretching and challenging them. And I think bringing devices into that picture, we're acknowledging the fact that they need to be digital ready. The jobs they'll be doing when they leave school don't exist yet, probably. Yeah. Whichever professional environment they end up going into, they're going to be using tools such as OneNote. They're going to be communicating electronically. And so it's part of a wider, not just teaching an academic subject, but actually preparing students for their next steps, whether it's education, in their workplace. How do they use these tools, but how do they communicate safely and appropriately online, which is also a big question. Yeah.
Final message to institutions to encourage them to look at the one-to-one device deployment.
Yeah. I would say, my message would be, use your own, you know what's best for your own school. You have your school vision. Use that to develop what you want them to, the use of the devices to look like. You know your pupils the best, you know your staff body the best. I think getting those things pinned down at the start is key. Communication to staff, stakeholders such as parents and pupils, really important, so that they know the aims of those devices. And then consultation and taking your time to develop the teaching and learning resources. Making sure it's embedded across all aspects of school life, whether it's pastoral, extracurricular, and also not afraid that things will happen that you haven't thought of. You can't think of everything, and I think sometimes that can stymie people. They spend too long almost worrying about things that haven't happened yet. And I think if you've put that initial thought into your planning, you've prevented most of those happening anyway. And I think that would be my main advice.
Okay. So that wraps up our session for today. Thank you, Sarah, for hosting this with me. It was amazing having you with me, describing how you guys have implemented your strategy. If there are any institutions that would like to connect with you, to learn more about the work that you've done, how could institutions?
Yeah, no, I'd be really interested to hear from any sort of schools or institutions that would like to learn from our case study. I'm based at Queen Elizabeth School in Barnet in North London. I'm on LinkedIn as Sarah Westcott. And also our website is qebarnet.co.uk, and I'd be very happy to hear from people who'd like to connect.
Okay. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. To our amazing listeners and subscribers, if you have enjoyed the session, please subscribe and share. And I'm your host, Janine De Villers. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Lenovo.